Linzay, this is a conversation that has really been something I've been looking forward to on so many levels, and I'm going to dive into it later, but you literally changed my family's life. So thank you for hopping onto the Self StartHER Podcast today. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to hear this story. I like it. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, don't get too excited, but it's a good one. So, you're the founder of Hello Bundle. It's a parental leave consulting agency where you're helping new and expecting parents get the parental leave that they deserve. So, I'd love to just learn a little bit more about you and what prompted you to dive into this space.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was as organic as it possibly could have been. I was not looking to start a business when I did. It all came because I had a really bad parental leave experience myself. I was working for a really small nonprofit. There were like 5 of us, and my boss lived in Oregon. I live in California. And so she obviously wasn't aware of like what California benefits were available to me. And in my previous life, I did work in HR, and maternity leave was actually my specialty for a while, but like that was like 10 years ago. So like by the time I went to go have my second daughter and go on parental leave from this job, I basically was like starting from square one and knew nothing. So Google was like my best friend. And I went on leave and I thought I took care of everything and I thought I was applying for all the benefits that I was eligible for. And I went back to work 12 weeks postpartum, which I thought was totally normal and like what I should be doing. And it was the perfect storm. Like I had postpartum depression this time. I didn't really know what that meant or like what was going on. It was in the middle of the pandemic and my husband worked with COVID patients. My mom has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. She lived with us. It was just literally the perfect storm. And all of that all happened at once. And I went back to work and 6 weeks later, and I quit the next day. I was just so mad. I was so mad that like I couldn't cut it as a working mom. So I started reading everything about like how to be a successful working mom. Cause I was like, I want to do this, how do I do it? And I realized that I missed out on literally at least 2 months, probably closer to 3 or 4 months of paid parental leave that I just didn't know about. And that's when it hit me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't possibly be the only woman that this has happened to. I am going to make sure that no other woman goes through the same experience that I did. And then my business was born.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you said something that kind of just breaks your heart a little bit, but you said, I just felt like I couldn't cut it as a working mom.
Yeah.
And for anyone that has experienced postpartum, like your body goes through a lot of changes and you chemically just aren't the same for how, I don't even know, it's years, honestly, and until your hormones regulate again. We clearly we're going through something that's much deeper than just on the surface level. And that really isn't taken into consideration in today's working society. And I can't imagine what that must have felt like to feel like you potentially failed. But
oh my gosh, I felt like I failed.
Yeah.
I felt like I failed everyone, including myself, including my kids, my husband, my coworkers. Like I loved my job. I thought I was a lifer there. And by quitting, I felt like I failed everybody, but it felt like it was my only option at that point.
Now, I know that you had a lot of personal stuff going on during that time with your mom and your husband working with COVID patients and obviously a new baby and all that kind of stuff. But what was it that made you feel like you had to quit and just do it the next day?
Working at a nonprofit is a unique experience in itself where it's definitely like passion driven. I loved my job. I loved the work we were doing. I loved my coworkers, but I have to like bring in the caveat that like I was not getting paid an amount of money that would have been like significant for our family. It was very low. And I loved the job so much that the pay wasn't something that mattered to me as much until I was in this situation where I had a toddler and a newborn and all of the other things that were going on around me. And that's when it hit me that I was like, this isn't worth it anymore. Because I'd been battling that for like the 3 years that I worked there. It was like every day was like, I love this job, but I'm not getting paid enough for all of this stress that I'm going through. And then like that was the straw that
It
work.
makes sense. And I think especially as you become a parent, your priorities shift a little bit. And
Oh my
you
gosh, yeah.
clearly are mission driven, or you mentioned the word, you're passion driven over here, but that you have to understand, like, okay, am I trading time for money? And is it more important for me to be with my family? Is it really is it making that big of an impact in my life, or can I make a bigger impact when I'm potentially at home with my children or doing something on my own?
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt like the trade-off was no longer worth it. Like I wanted to be there for my kids and also like there for myself because I was really struggling. And so the formula didn't add up anymore.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry that you felt like you were in that situation where you felt like you had to quit because like you didn't have the support that you needed at the time to be able to get the leave that you really deserved and then potentially go back to the job, because maybe things could have been a little bit different. But
Oh my gosh, yes. I'd gotten like the 6 or 7 months off that I should have gotten, we would not be having this conversation right now. I'd still be working at that job.
But I would say I truly believe that things happen for a reason sometimes, and this happened for you because now you're able to then go ahead and help educate other women and help them throughout this process. And without, unfortunately, like the experience that you went through, that might not have been something that came to fruition.
Totally.
So
It's the
it's
silver lining for sure.
totally, it's like I try to view like the positive in the situations, and like that's the positive here. It's like, yes, you unfortunately went through a unfortunate situation, but what you've been able to do as a result of that is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about, you mentioned that you were Googling during this time, like,
Yeah.
is this normal? Like, how to be a working mom? Like, what kind of support can I get? When did you decide to take the Googling and actually make this a business?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a long time coming. I'd say like initially it was like a blog where I was like, I'm just going to like write about everything that I learned from all of this Googling, watching all of these TED Talks, reading all of these books. Like I was doing I was getting a PhD in how to be a working mom, but with no certificate at the end. And so I was like, I have to share this information. So then it started out as a blog. And then the business idea was more in alignment with I'm going to help organizations become more inclusive of moms because the organization is going to be stronger if they have moms and they're feeling supported, and then they won't have women coming back from parental leave and quitting like I did. And everyone loved that idea. I was like all over LinkedIn. I was talking to everybody. I was doing work for free for so long. And then I was like, no one's going to pay me for this. Like, it just became so clear that like everyone loved this idea, but no one was willing to pay me for it. And it kind of was happenstance. I posted a reel on Instagram that was directly to the moms about how to get paid on parental leave. And for having like almost no followers, it kind of went viral. And I was like, oh, I have to go directly to the moms instead of like going through their workplaces. Because I really didn't want the moms to have to shoulder another responsibility. Like, okay, I have to figure out my parental leave. I have to pay for the consultant. Like I was hoping that their workplace would pay for those things and like take on that burden, but they weren't going to. And so I was like, okay, I have to go directly to the moms. The moms want this. And that's kind of how the business as it is today came to happen.
Well, and that's kind of what happened to me, is that I was laid off when I was pregnant and I was looking for new jobs. I had 40 interviews in the span of 2 weeks trying to find another job. And it was unfortunate because this is the world that we live in. It's like, do I tell them I'm pregnant or do I not tell them I'm pregnant? And it shouldn't be that way. But unfortunately, that's what us as women have to like think about when we're interviewed for these jobs. Okay, do I come up front and tell them what's going on, or do I hide this and then tell them afterwards? But this reality is that like the corporate world really isn't set up to be able to support these moms in this season of life, and they don't want to potentially lose people. So it was really interesting as I was interviewing is that I wasn't going to qualify for maternity leave benefits. I had to be there for a year with the company, and I was already halfway through my pregnancy. And it was just a very eye-opening experience. So when you're saying that you had to go straight to the moms, it makes sense because we're going to be our biggest advocates for ourselves. These companies, like, they have so many other priorities that are honestly ahead of this, that I learned it wasn't a priority for them. They did it because they had to do it, and most of them did the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, that's what's so frustrating also about how we expect HR to be who we go to when we need help with our parental leave. But it's not HR's priority either. And like, this isn't like to knock HR or like these organizations. It's just because like, this is what our culture is in the United States right now. And like, I'm fighting for it to be different, but like, we have to like face the music. Like, this is the reality. But like, HR works for the company. They are not probably trained extensively in parental leave and all of the different benefits that you could get depending upon what state you live in. And there's nowhere else to go. And it just doesn't make sense. What are we supposed to do when we become pregnant and we work? And it's just like, we're all on our own to figure it out. Like, that's what I'm trying to change. Like,
well, and especially because we're now in a society where most of us, it requires 2 incomes in order to survive. We can't just survive for the most of us on one salary these days. So it's really crucial that these women understand how to make the most of their parental leave. Well, men too, because like, this isn't just for women. I think we're going to talk about that today. It's like, this is for the whole family. So that's something that we'll highlight here. But okay, so once you realized that you could go ahead and target these mothers, what happened next?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me look back. So that was like 2.5 years ago. And that's when I came out with my guide. So I have a PDF guide that basically outlines all of the benefits that you could potentially qualify for as a pregnant person in California. Since then, we've expanded to several other states, but this was where I started. It's like, I have a guide and I'm going to get this guide out to women. And then it became very clear that like each person's parental leave experience is unique, and they wanted like direct help. And then I was like, okay, I guess I could do like one-on-one consulting. And I remember the first consulting call that I booked, we threw a party. It was like so exciting. I hadn't even had the call yet, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to help this woman. And I will never forget it. And it just kind of like snowball effect from there. I ended up, booking so many consulting calls that we had to hire somebody else. And now I have 3 more consultants on my team helping me, and we expanded outside of California. And so we're helping people all over the United States now. And it just feels like a dream.
And to think that this started because you didn't really have the support that you needed when you needed it most. So now it's like, I mean, I'm getting all giddy watching you get all giddy over what you've been able to create here, because it's so much bigger than just you and me. It's
so much.
This is like 50% of the population at this point that we're able to impact and really change the course of their postpartum experience here. And I kind of want to highlight why this is so important. So a lot of us don't understand what kind of benefits are available to us, myself included. And like I said, I was laid off when I was I was probably in my 2nd trimester, because I had just announced my pregnancy to my company. And then it was, okay, mass layoff, you're out of here. At that time, like, I definitely went into panic mode. Like I said, I was interviewing, and I wasn't finding the right companies that were going to be able to support me in this next chapter. So I remember I had met Inbal, who's the founder of Like-Minded Collective, and she and I were having coffee, and I was telling her about this situation and that the predicament I was in, I was a little bit scared, honestly, because I didn't know how to get another job to support my family, how I was going to get the right benefits and all, so on and so forth. And she goes, oh, you need to talk to my friend Lindsay. So lo and behold, you and I were at the first in-person Like-Minded Collective event, 2023. And we happened to be sitting back to back, and Inbal comes over and she goes, Megan, you gotta meet Lindsay. This is who I was telling you about. And we just had a really great conversation there. And your conversation literally changed my life in my postpartum experience. And I say that because not only was I laid off during that time, my husband's a part of the Hollywood scene. So he's a film editor, and they went through. They had a bunch of Hollywood strikes then. So he had a job, but he wasn't allowed to work. So I lost my job, and then my husband he had a job, but he wasn't allowed to work. And so almost the entire, I would say 6 months of almost my entire pregnancy and so on there, he wasn't working. And so I wasn't working either because I was having trouble getting a job. So your conversation with me allowed me to tap into benefits. Was it 3 or 4 weeks before my son was born? I also was diagnosed with Hashimoto's during my pregnancy. So because of that, I was able to get benefits for almost an entire year after that. So it literally saved my family's financial situation. And then my husband was able to get benefits, and he's returned to work. And so we're not just trying to take from the system here, but I'm just trying to say that there was so many benefits available to me that I didn't know. I thought that because I was laid off, I wouldn't get any maternity leave benefits. I would have no support whatsoever, and that's why I went into panic mode. Lo and behold, being laid off was the best thing that had happened to me because I was able to be home with my son for an entire year and be paid for it tax-free.
Oh my gosh, so I totally remember this conversation, and we didn't even talk that much about it. It was just oh, I got laid off, what can I do? And I was like, oh, you still qualify for benefits, you get this, that, and the other. And wow, I can't believe that just small conversation changed so much for your family.
It did. And that's what I want to highlight today. It's these conversations are so important because that time with my son was so precious, and it allowed me to be present. It allowed me to recover because, like you were saying, I didn't go through postpartum depression, but I didn't feel truly like myself for at least 6 months. That's when I started. And I don't understand how people can go back after just a few weeks.
I don't either.
Our society, it just doesn't make any sense. So again, what you're doing is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about how you're helping all these individuals past this little brief conversation that you and I had in passing.
Yeah, so right now we offer a few different ways that you can work with us. Or let's start with the free ways. So I give away so much free information on Instagram and TikTok. I am posting almost daily on there, just trying to get as much information out about these benefits as possible, because like you and your experience, people just don't know that these benefits are out there. They just assume oh, I'm going to get 12 weeks of FMLA, and they don't even know what FMLA is. And this 12-week number is just this, it means nothing. And so, this isn't just to say go follow me on TikTok and Instagram. It's literally I give out so much free information there. So you should go do that. And then also we have a free parental leave benefits guide. You just have to trade us for your email. And honestly, I intended to send out an email once a week to my subscribers to help them, but I've been so busy that I literally haven't sent out an email in almost a year. So you give me your email and you just get one email from me, and it's a free parental leave benefits guide, and it walks through each state of what each state offers federally, what you can get in the United States. So we have those are all the things that we offer for free. But like I was saying earlier, each person's parental leave is very unique, and a lot of people are so confused still, even with all of this information, just creates more questions. And so we offer parental leave consulting, and we have what we call our bundle. And it is a 45-minute consulting call with me or one of our consultants on the Hello Bundle team. And you also get our parental leave benefits guide. So that's in addition to the free guide. We also have another guide for each individual state. That goes very in depth on all of the benefits and how to take advantage of them, where to apply, how to apply, all of that jazz. And then you also get a copy of my magic calendar, personalized to you. So I have what I call our magic calendar, and basically we can input all of your paid leave options into it and tell the magic calendar how to integrate them, what stacks on top of what and what's consecutive and what's concurrent. So you can see what your parental leave is going to look like. And then you also get access to office hours. So if you have any questions that come up after your call, if we put a plan together on your call and then you go to HR and HR is no, then come back to office hours and we're okay, HR is wrong. Here's what you have to tell them. I feel so lucky that I have come up with this framework to help people, because it literally, like you're saying, I feel we are getting the opportunity to help people change their parental leave, and in turn change their whole experience as being a new parent. And it's been really amazing.
Well, and it just dawned on me. You called this a bundle. So this experience is a bundle, but the name is Hello Bundle. So it's kind of a twofold. Obviously, you're welcoming this like new bundle of joy, but you also have this bundle program that you've put together. So is that kind of how the name came together too?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's perfect. Yes, and I know you went through a rebrand somewhat recently too. I think it was the Park Consulting.
Yeah, so we were the Park up until maybe like 3 months ago. So that was our name originally that I had come up with. And that was back when I was trying to make organizations more inclusive of women, because the park, or like the playground where our kids play, is the only place that I could think of that is more welcoming to women than to men. That's not like made especially for women. And so I was like, I want our workplaces to be as welcoming and inclusive to women as the playground or the park is for women. But then like we've just grown so much from that point. And now that we are really focused on parental leave and we're helping people all across the United States, the park just wasn't serving us anymore. And so I spent many sleepless nights trying to figure out what our new name was going to be. And when I came up with Hello Bundle, I was like, this is it.
I remember I saw some post on there and you were asking people for their feedback and everyone was like, yes, this is it. I think it was maybe a conversation with Inbal too that you had. And it was just, it's been really cool to see just the development over this, because I didn't realize you started this 2.5 years ago. So much has happened in this relatively short amount of period of time. You use the term we, like in what you were just talking about, because it's more than just you at this point. Like you have a full team across the country. So at what point did you realize that this was bigger than just something that you could handle and you actually needed to have some helping hands here as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm still like trying to figure all of that out yet. I'm not
Aren't
really
we
sure.
all?
I don't know. So backing up even farther, my daughter is now 4 years old in a few months. So like this all happened initially when I was on parental leave with her. So like 4.5 years ago. And then 2.5 years ago-ish is like when that viral Instagram post happened. And then maybe within like 6 or 8 months, I was getting so many requests for help in California that I couldn't do it on my own. And that's when I hired Stacy, who was our amazing California parental leave consultant. Like she knows more about parental leave at this point than I do. Like she is so amazing. And then she started taking calls, and then I was taking all of the calls for people outside of California. And very quickly that became like very overwhelming for me. I was on the phone like 24/7, it felt like. And 6 months-ish ago is when I decided to hire an East Coast team. And so now I have a consultant in New York and a consultant in Washington, D.C. that help our East Coast people. And I just feel so grateful that I found these incredible women to help me with this mission to help people get the parental leave that they deserve.
Well, and I love that you've been able to, because like we talked about, you are mission driven. Like that's why you were able to work for a nonprofit for so long and for basically working for peanuts, it sounds like. And now you're able to do something for yourself so you can have a better salary and still make that impact across the board and probably on an even larger scale since you're in control here.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm trying to get there.
You're well on your way.
There is a lot of costs associated with having a business, but
Tell me about it.
I hope that someday, yeah, I have, like this full business that is, thriving and helping as many people that need help. And I'm also, supporting this amazing team of moms that are my consultants, and I get to pay them really well. And I also get to get paid really well and to support my family, because I've poured my heart and soul into this for so long, and I know it's coming. I just can't wait.
It's right here, honestly. Like sometimes someone told me just the other day, they're like, you're just sometimes one person away from meeting that person that is kind of like a catalyst to change your life. And at the end of the day,
I love
obviously
that.
you're the one that's changing your life, but sometimes all it takes is meeting that one person to kind of just like allow everything to explode. And, I mean, to me, you are the definition of success because you are waking
Thanks,
up
Megan.
but it's everyone's definition so different. Like you're waking up every single day You have a wonderful relationship with your family. You have two beautiful girls, a great relationship. You have this wonderful business that's making an impact every single day and a staff that cares about their mission. Yes, you might not financially be making the kind of money that you would hope to make, but it's coming. Like you've laid the foundations for everything that it takes to like really succeed. So I hope that you can take a second to like realize that you have created such a beautiful space and people want the information that you have because you mentioned earlier that you had just like this one post that went semi-viral. You have thousands and thousands of followers now. So there are lots of moms. There's no shortages of moms out there. People are still having babies and they need what you have to put out there. Like I'm having lots of conversations with moms and the biggest thing is they want to be present right now. They want to be able to be present. And this is the gift that you're giving them, the opportunity to really be there for moments that they can't get back.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm doing it for all the moms because I didn't get it. And like, there's another silver lining there. It's like, even though I didn't get all the time that I needed to be present with my family, and I ended up in the end getting it since I quit my job. I'm so determined to make sure that there's not a single mom in the US that doesn't get the parental leave benefits that they deserve. Because like you were saying, like you've paid into these benefits your entire working life. You deserve to file a claim, even if you got laid off. And like, I just want everyone to know that.
Yeah. And you bring up a really good point. I think I did feel guilty at first tapping into the system. But like you said, especially in California, we pay a buttload of taxes. And I made a very nice salary prior to my layoff. So it was one of those things where, okay, like I'm going to take advantage of this while I can because I know that it's not always going to be available to me.
Yeah.
But that also begs another question here. I've now been out of corporate for like 2 years now. So at what point, like, can you always tap into benefits, or is this something that you have had to have worked in some sort of job where you're paying into the system in order to qualify? Because I think some people might be experiencing that as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the short answer is it depends upon what state you live in. For example, in New York, you have to be currently working and you have to have worked at your job for at least 6 months in order to qualify for benefits. But in California, it works more like an insurance policy where as long as you paid in during the time period that you were supposed to pay in, you can make a claim. And that time period that you're supposed to pay in is what we call a base period. And many states that offer paid parental leave use the base period framework, where if you pay in during the base period, it doesn't matter what's happening now or what was happening before, you can qualify for benefits. And in California, the base period is a 12-month period that's about 5 to 18 months before you go on leave. So if you paid in to CASD, which is California State Disability Insurance, which is going to be a deduction on your pay stub if you are a regular W-2 employee, you'll qualify for benefits. But once you are outside of that 5 to 18 month window, now you no longer qualify.
So if you're not a W-2 employee, how does that, like if you have your own like LLC or S Corp or things like that, how does that impact?
So I wish there were easy answers for all of this.
I know it's if this, then this.
So like the umbrella answer is like, if you are a normal W-2 employee, like you're going to qualify for benefits. If you're not, like if you're a 1099 or if you are an LLC or you work for yourself, you're not paying into CASD. So like your income is not going through like the right portals of taxes to basically qualify you. However, if you are self-employed, but you work for your business and get paid as a W-2 employee of your business, which many S Corp employees are, then your wages are going through the right W-2 portals, and now you are paying into CASD, and so you will qualify for paid family leave. So like that's like the biggest asterisk for self-employed people. It's like, if you can pay yourself as a W-2 and have CASD deducted from your pay stub, then you will qualify for benefits. But if you don't, then you won't.
Well, and I would say that if I was looking to get pregnant again, this is like the kind of conversations to have even before you get pregnant so you
Yeah.
know what you're in store for. So it's like plan ahead if you can to be able to understand what kind of support you need and how to set yourself up properly from the beginning. Because, like you said, there are some workarounds. It's just sometimes you have to get a little bit creative in order to make this happen.
Totally.
So,
Yeah. I mean, like the worst part of my job is when I have to tell someone that they don't qualify for benefits, whether that's like because they just missed the cutoff window, or if they don't live in a state that offers benefits, or they come to me and they're like, I had my baby 4 weeks ago and I didn't think I qualified for anything. Do I qualify for anything? Like, help me. And it's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I feel the weight of the world like they feel. And I just want to help everybody and like try to figure out like where we can pull from benefits in any way that we can. But sometimes we can't. So like your advice of starting, like doing this planning early is very good advice.
well, and you're putting so much help out into the world. Like for anyone listening right now, how can we really help each other and then help your company as well? Because this is such a big mission. It's bigger than just you and me here today.
Thank you for asking. Well, I mean, talk about this. That's like the thing, the number one thing you can do is like maternity leave, parental leave, paternity leave, like whatever you want to call it. It's not like this dirty word. It's not something that like we need to be, like not discussing. It's not a taboo subject. Like talk about it, even at work, even if it feels uncomfortable for you. I'm not like saying like be the martyr at your business or your company, but like if you feel comfortable talking about parental leave and taking parental leave, like you are setting the bar for all of the women behind you. And it's so important that we do that. Right now, the world is telling us that we don't deserve parental leave, and taking 12 weeks off is, we get that. We're lucky if we get that. But if you go outside of the US, people think we are crazy because of how crazy it is that we don't have federally sponsored paid parental leave, and that we think 12 weeks is like this magic number where we're all going to be healed afterwards. So just like fight against that, talk about it. And then like if you want to support my work, like the best thing that you can do is literally just follow me on TikTok and Instagram and like comment every once in a while and be like, hey, Lindsay, I'm here. I'm supporting you. Like that's how the algorithm knows to trust us and to put our content out to more people so that more people know about these benefits that might not have known before. And it's sad that like social media is like the primary way that we're reaching people, but that's just kind of the reality today. And
It is. I had a guest on. Her episode actually went live today as we're recording, and she talked about how we as women now have the biggest microphone that we've ever had before. Like our ancestors, they never had this. Our moms, our grandmothers, and so on and so forth. And it's because we have access to this thing called the internet, where we do have the opportunity to really make a bigger impact than just talking to our neighbors down the street. We have the opportunity to reach thousands, even millions from our phones. So it's really powerful. And honestly, the change starts with us. So helping you is helping everyone else there. So Lindsay, this has been just such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for shedding light onto just such an important topic today that, again, I'm just going to emphasize, like literally changed my entire year-long plus experience. So it was super. You came in at a really good time in my life, and I will forever be grateful for that. Now, if someone's listening to this, where could they go ahead and find out some more information about everything that you're doing?
yeah, so our website is hello-bundle.com. So everything is there. But if you want to find us on Instagram, we're hello_bundle_. If anybody has any connections to Instagram, I'd really just like Hello Bundle, but
I understand.
help a girl out. And then on TikTok, we're just Hello Bundle. And say hi. Tell me that you found us from Megan's podcast, and I'd love to chat.
Well, and like you said, like your Instagram and your TikTok, it's just full of just resourceful, like information that it's free too. So if you need somewhere to start there, start educating yourself and getting aware of what's going on and what benefits that you have looking forward. Now, speaking of just other resources, I always like to end up with one last piece of advice. So if there's any woman listening out today that's looking to start a business of her own, what would you tell her?
My gosh, start a business of your own. Figure out what you love so much. Like, what is it that like you could stay up all night reading about, and figure out a way to turn it into a business. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a way to monetize it. Like you're saying, like the internet is a very powerful tool now to use as a microphone. And like, you don't necessarily even have to figure out a way to monetize that thing that you love so much. You could just be telling other people about that thing that you love so much. And then like the monetization thing will just come organically. But just think about like what lights you up and what makes you passionate about, what is it? And then turn that into your business.
So good. Because that's what's going to keep you getting up day after day. It's the passion.
Because let me tell you, it is so hard. I was
Oh,
telling
I know.
Megan before we started recording, I broke my foot 3 weeks ago, and like I have 2 kids, I have a business, I'm very stressed, and like working out and walking are my like coping mechanisms, and I can't do that anymore. So all I do is cry. I just cry all the time. So it's not all roses and butterflies and rainbows being a business owner, but it is so fulfilling. Just try to find that coping mechanism. And crying is fine, but something else is better.
Well, again, like I'm going to say it again, like what you've done is like my definition of success. Like I want like, well, I feel like I get lit up by what I do too, but like that's what I strive for. I used to strive for like the money and the titles, but since becoming a mom, my entire perspective has shifted. It's about having like those slow moments, about really like making that impact and getting up day after day, just doing things that just really light you up. You've created that for yourself, and you're really helping other women have that same opportunity here. So thank you so much for hopping on today and just sharing all of these amazing resources.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you so much for telling me your story. Just that's the kind of stuff that keeps me motivated and keeps me going every day. So thank you.